Hello guys and welcome to my YouTube channel again. I'm very excited about this episode because as you see I have a lot of new parts in front of me for the starlet. This starlet we are going to say that is a baby Supra because I couldn't buy a Supra, I just bought a starlet. And now I have to turbo this car, and in order to turbo this car we need some new parts. This is the forged pistons that I bought for this engine. It's Vosner forged pistons, max speeding rods. It's very well known rods. It's made from China and it had been proven that they work very good. And this is a Garrett GBC 17 turbo that is rated up to 1500 cc. Our engine it's only 1.3 liter. So I think it's going to spool up pretty quickly and we can crank the boost up quite a bit. This is a lot of materials that I bought for the turbo manifold, and now we have to start work on the car. We will take everything out and this car is never going to be the same again. From a starlet it's going to be a baby Supra. In the previous episode that we actually bought the car, we had to clean a lot of snow in order to get into the car, and when this time came, all the locks was frozen. I really struggled with all the 3 locks, but all of them was frozen, and after 1 minute of heating with a heat gun, I finally got into the car, and when I got into the car, it wouldn't start.
Okay.
The battery was completely empty and I had to use the booster. After this, the car started right away. The car was on the summer tires and it was almost impossible to get it out of the snow. After a lot front and back in the snow, we finally got it out and here we are on the episode number 2. Now we have to remove the engine in order to put all our new parts inside there. So first I drained the oil, after I drained the transmission oil, and after that I removed the under tray so I can reach the radiator hose and remove all the coolant from the radiator. Guys, look what I found. This is the mount for the battery. I found it under on top of this cover, and yeah, and I think also that the radiator is broken because I see this coolant is leaking, but we are gonna change it no matter what. After that, I put back the plug on the transmission and on the oil pan, and I removed the water that I didn't have very big success with. All of it went on the floor. Then I cut the exhaust because I really tried to remove that screw, but it was very rusted out and I'm not going to use this exhaust again, so I don't care. Now that we cut this there, the exhaust has this little cable here that probably is some kind of safety, or if the rubbers break, this is holding the exhaust probably. We remove these rubbers here. We cut this off and it's 2 more screws and the exhaust can go down. When we remove the exhaust, next is the axles. Then you remove these 2 screws with this spring there. I don't know why it has this spring. And I tried to take out these rubber things. It was very hard, but I managed to take them out with the pliers. I didn't have this special tool that you press there and it's going straight out. I disconnect the sensor and the exhaust was finally out. This is all the fluids that we took out of the car. And this is the old exhaust. I managed to disconnect the sensor and it was okay actually. For Norway it was pretty okay. I was expecting that this is going to be worse. But we removed the exhaust and the only problem was this connector here. And now I'm gonna remove this up there too. And because no matter what, we are going to build our own exhaust. The last part of the exhaust was the final silencer on the back.
I sprayed this spray there to make it soft and try to remove this rubber, but it was impossible. I really tried. I end up cutting it with a knife because no matter what, I'm not going to use it again, neither the silencer or the rubber. But we really have to do something about this rust. It's not rotten, but we have to sand it and protect it from rusting further away.
Next job is to remove the axles. The axis is the drive shaft that is moving the front wheel, and in order to take the engine out we have to remove this. But first check what is doing Norway to cars. The snow and the salt. Check what is doing the snow and the salt to a 25-year-old car. But this is not a problem because the car is never gonna be the same again. So we have to continue, we have to remove this.
On every bolt joint that is connected to the hub, always in the end, in the nut, there is a hole that you have to line up with a screw, and in the end you put a safety pin. This is a safety feature, so if the nut comes loose, so you will not accidentally lose the steering wheel while you are driving. But these safety pins was very rusted away and they really gave me hard time to remove them. Some of them broke inside, some of them I managed to remove. I still managed to get all the nuts out, but later on I still have to drill the hole there so I can put the new safety pin back in. There, if you see, I'm hitting 100 times this safety pin to get it out. I managed to get it out. I took out the nut and then I removed these 3 screws that is connected from the steering arm to the final bolt joint that is connected to the hub. It was easier to remove these 3 screws. I pressed the hub down and I finally had the left front axle outside of the car.
And check down. All this is dirt and rust, and there is many parts that we need to replace on this car in order to be turbo and safe also. Now the exhaust is out and the 2 axles is out. That was one of a big and dirty job, and we have to remove everything that is connected to the engine. The radiator, all the cables that is connected to the engine, the gear links, the gear shift links, the lines that is coming from the tank to feed with fuel the engine. We remove everything and then it's 3 big mounts and we can drop the engine down. So let's start and do this.
First I removed the water expansion tank, only a 10mm screw. After I removed the half of the cold air intake. It was very easy. After this I removed the battery and then I removed the radiator. The radiator has 2 10mm screws on top and 2 water hoses and 1 plug for the radiator fan. After all this was out, I could start taking the cables out.
This is going in the garbage.
Then I removed this 10mm screw that is holding this plastic housing of the air filter. I think with the 10mm you can undo half of the car, 10 and 12, this Toyota. After this was out, I started working with the cables. There is the fuse box. You have to take this 2 10mm screws out and a lot of clips, and I start working my way so I can remove all the cables from the engine bay. Then I removed the throttle cable. The throttle cable, it has 2 12mm that is tightened against each other, and you undo one of these 2 and then it's coming loose and you can remove it from the throttle body. Then I lift up the car and I removed this mount back there that is holding a lot of cables, and I got access to the alternator and the starter, and I start removing the cables back there. And there we go, ready for the big moment. All the cables is out, and now I'm pulling them up from the back side to the right side of the car. There is all the cables. Here I'm removing the fuel lines from the engine. This engine has one feed line and one return line. The return line was stuck on the metal hose, so I just cut it a little bit and I removed it, and the feed line has one 19 bolt that you remove. Now I'm removing the two cables that's connected to the gear selector inside the car. When you move left and right and front and back the gear selector, these cables transfer the movement into the transmission, and transmission select the gear. These two cables, they have two small safety pins with a rubber ball joint in the end, and you have also two big metal clips that is one small radiator inside the car that is responsible for warming up the cabin, but I didn't expect for them to have water inside. The last thing that I finally removed was these two big hydraulic lines that is connecting the hydraulic oil pump with the steering racket, and this is taking movement with a belt from the crankshaft and is pressing hydraulic oil into the steering racket every time that you're turning the steering wheel left or right, and makes it easy for you to drive. The moment that we have all been waiting for is coming. I'm removing the first engine mount that is connecting the transmission to the chassis. I put a pallet under the car and I'm lowering down the car. Now it's only two engine mounts away and the engine can be finally separated from the car. The guys that was there, they offered to help me because I couldn't hold the engine and taking the lift up, so I'm very grateful that the guys helped me. We dropped down the engine, they hold it into place, and I slowly lift up the car, and the engine was finally separated from the car. After all this hard work, it started to finally worth it. And there we go, we have a 25-year-old little dirty engine ready on the pallet to be forged and turbo, finally. At this point, I really want to thank my very good friend Ernestos STEGEN at Mysen that he is giving me his space to make my videos. I really couldn't do it if it was not him. And I really want to thank Robert for giving me his help with the engine when I needed the help the most. And stay tuned, like and subscribe to the videos. There is way more to come, I promise. I see you in the next one. Bye.